1001 Questions and Answers on English Grammar by Benjamin Hathaway. Verbs. 1. Give the general rule for the agreement of the finite verb. A finite verb must agree with its subject in person and number. I am, he is, we are. 2. Why does not the infinitive verb come under this rule? Because the infinitive does not assert of a subject, and therefore does not have the inflection for person and number. 3. What is the position of the finite verb? It usually follows its subject, as religion makes its votaries happy. 4. How can it be determined which is the subject and which the predicate in interrogative sentences? By repeating the words following the verb and answering the question. The answer, being the antecedent of the interrogative, must have the same construction, as, who is that man? Answer, that man is Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones is in the predicate, and therefore who is in the predicate. 5. What of the subjects of different verbs in the same sentence? Different verbs always have separate subjects expressed or understood, unless the verbs are connected, as the man was old and infirm. The man bought and sold. 6. What is peculiar about verbs in the imperative mode? Their subjects are generally understood as you, go this time. Thou, lead us not into temptation. John, you, lend me your knife. 7. When adjuncts are added to the subject, do they change the person and number of the verb? The adjuncts do not control the verb, as 10 months' interest is due. The propriety of such methods was evident. 8. What of the agreement of the verb when its subject is an infinitive, a participle, a phrase, or a sentence? Such a subject requires the verb to be in the third person and singular number, as that there is no disputing about taste is generally conceded. 9. How is the verb ought used? The verb being defective, it rejects the s in the third singular present, as he ought not be there. 10. How are the verbs need and dare used? When intransitive, they sometimes take the plural form, but not parsed as plural, when used with singular subjects, as she need not come, he dare not misrepresent it. 11. Give 6 sentences in false syntax under the rule for the agreement of verbs. 1. The clouds has dispersed should be have. 2. There is men who never reason should be are. 3. Circumstances alters cases should be alter. 4. On one side was beautiful flowers should be were. 5. The corporation is individually responsible should be are. 6. In piety and virtue consist the happiness of man should be consists. 12. What is the number of a verb having 2 or more singular subjects connected by and? It must be plural, because the idea of plurality is conveyed by the united subjects, as esteem and love were never to be sold. Time and tide wait for no man. 13. Name an exception to this rule. When the subjects denote the same person or thing, or when they form a unity of subject, the verb should be singular, as that philosopher and poet was banished from us. Bread and milk, meaning one kind of food, is good for children. To rise and retire early, meaning the habit, is good for one's health. 14. What is a second exception? When the subjects are preceded by each, every, or no, expressed or understood, or when they are connected by as well as, the verb should be singular, as each sect and party is represented. Every man, woman, and child was enrolled. No slave, no master, now exists in our country. The father, as well as the son, was to blame. 15. Give still another instance an exception to the rule. When one of the subjects is taken affirmatively and the other negatively, the verb agrees with the affirmative subject and is understood after the other, as ambition and not the safety of the people was concerned. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. 16. With which subject does the verb agree in these cases? With each subject, really, except when two or more subjects are taken together to mean one thing, of which the verb affirms something. 17. When an affirmative and a negative subject are connected by but instead of and, with what does the verb agree? It agrees with the affirmative and not the negative subject, as economy, but not mean savings, brings wealth. Not her beauty, but her talents attract attention. No one but children were invited. 18. When two or more subjects are connected by with, in company with, or together with, what is the agreement of the verb? It agrees with the first subject, as Mr. Bean, in company with Professor Holbrook, was geologizing. The general, with all his army, was captured. 19. When the verb stands between its subjects, with which one does it agree? It agrees with the first, and is understood after the others, as your virtue captivates me, your beauty and amiability. The verb is really understood after each. 20. If the subjects are of different persons, with which does the verb agree? The verb prefers the first to the second or third, and the second to the third, as you, John, and I shall see, first person, our friends. You and he will reap, second person, your reward. 21. What is the rule for the verb whose subjects are connected by or nor? A verb, finite, having two or more subjects in the singular connected by or nor, must agree with them in the singular, as fear or jealousy affects him. 22. What is an exception to this rule? When the subjects are of different persons or numbers, the verb must agree with the nearest, and a verb be understood after the others, as you or I am mistaken. Neither the father nor the children are healthy. 23. Name a second exception. When one of the subjects connected is an apposition, the verb agrees with the principal word, as the sign of equality, or two short parallel horizontal lines, is frequently employed in algebra. 24. Give the program for parsing a finite verb. 1. Name the part of speech. 2. Name its classes, regularity and transitivity. 3. Give principal parts, when the verb is irregular. 4. Give voice, mode, tense, person, and number. 5. Give its construction. 6. Name or recite the rule. 25. Parse a regular verb. All rational beings desire happiness. Desire is a verb, regular, transitive, active, indicative, present, third, plural, agreeing with its subject, beings, rule. 26. Parse an irregular verb. Who was Sir Robert Peel? Was is a verb, irregular, intransitive, be was been, active, indicative, past tense, third person, singular, agreeing with its subject, Sir Robert Peel, rule. 27. Parse a transitive verb. Knowledge strengthens the mind. Strengthens is a verb, regular, transitive, active, indicative, present tense, third person, singular, agreeing with its subject, knowledge, rule. 28. Parse an intransitive verb. Seneca reasons well. Reasons is a verb, regular, intransitive, active, indicative, present tense, third person, singular, agreeing with its subject, Seneca, rule. 29. Parse a verb in the active voice. His being an expert dancer is no recommendation. Is a verb, irregular, intransitive, be was been, active, indicative, present tense, third person, singular, agreeing with its subject, his being an expert dancer, rule. 30. Parse a verb in the passive voice. The Declaration of Independence was adopted July 4th, 1776. Was adopted is a verb, regular, transitive, passive, indicative, past tense, third person, singular, agreeing with its subject, Declaration of Independence, rule. 31. Parse a verb in the potential mode, present tense. Parents, children, brothers, and sisters may all meet in heaven. May meet is a verb, irregular, transitive. Meet, met, met. Active, potential mode, present tense, third person, plural, agreeing with its subjects, parents, children, brothers, and sisters. Rule. 32. Parse a verb in the potential mode, past tense. The laboring man should not be defrauded. Should be defrauded is a verb, regular, transitive, passive, potential mode, past tense, third person, singular, agreeing with its subject, man. Rule. 33. Parse a verb in the indicative mode, present perfect tense. America has been called the land of the free. Has been called is a verb, regular, transitive, passive, indicative, present perfect tense, third person, singular, agreeing with its subject, America. Rule. 34. Parse a verb in the indicative, future perfect tense. John or Edward will have studied his lesson. Will have studied is a verb, regular, transitive, active, indicative, future perfect tense, third person, singular, agreeing with its subjects, John and Edward. Rule. 35. Parse a verb in the subjunctive mode, past perfect tense. Had I been in fault, I would have made acknowledgments. Had been is a verb, irregular, intransitive. Be, was, been. Subjunctive mode, past perfect tense, first person, singular, agreeing with its subject, I. Rule. 36. Parse a verb whose subject has an adjunct. The mill, with all its appurtenances, was destroyed. Was destroyed is a verb, regular, transitive, passive, indicative, past tense, third person, singular, agreeing with its subject, mill. Rule. End of 19. Recording by Richard Beiswanger.